Okay, here we are at the miter saw. This is the piece of lumber that we're going to be working with. We have to be aware of knots and other foreign materials whenever we're going to be using any of our saws, but I just want to point out that we do have some knot material that we want to make sure that we're paying attention to when we're making our cuts. So if I'm going to be cutting something, I probably want to stay away from that if I can. In order to make, this is where I want to do my cuts. If I have to cut off a section where I can get a smaller piece out here, I would probably make that decision. With the compound sliding miter saw, we have a couple of different things. First, just as always, we're going to be making our mark. This is where we want to make our cut. This is our waistline, and our waistline is going to allow us to identify explicitly that this side right here, it's pointing to the waist. This is the waist material that we want to make sure that we're hitting and dealing with regards to making our cuts. All right, like all of our saws, we have a bed in which we're going to be laying material or having material lay down in or on. We have our kerf blades, which are these yellow sections right here with regards to our there are kerf boards which are going to allow for the blade to go through, yet still support the material. We have the table itself. We have the fence, which is again adjustable with regards to if we were going to be, for instance, if we needed to extend it because we had a larger piece of material, we have that ability. We also, because this material is long enough, I'm going to be able to put my hand outside of the area, which is our 8 inches. Again, which is marked on the side with the no put your hands here type of marks. So we have that. With our miter benches here, they're adjustable where we have features where we have the ability to put a stop up against or support longer material. They are adjustable to allow that. We also do have a clamp feature which we're able to move into position and clamp material down if we're concerned about it moving while we're doing our process, or if we want to put a hard stop in place, we could clamp down a hard stop. This is a compound sliding miter saw, so it does have that sliding action where we're able to slide the blade forward while we're making our cut. We also are able to put an angle into our materials where we're able to put our angle in. Again, that's adjustable and or readable down here with regard to what angle we're going. We're going to just do a quick straight cut across in terms of a miter. We'll do a couple of these just to show that off. Additionally, we have the ability to actually move the head. Where back here we have the ability to change the angle that the blade head is set at. Again, we're going to leave that set up at 0 because we're just going to do a straight cut across, but we'll do a couple of cuts to show things off a little bit. Remember, you're going to see a little bit of a kick when you're doing these cuts. So as soon as I turn this on, I'm going to get a kick. It's nothing to be scared of. I definitely want to be aware of it. I want to make sure my hands are bracing material, holding things in place. I want to check to make sure that I'm going to cut the waist side of my line. Again, if you look at my hand, I'm not touching the trigger while I'm lowering the head. I have my hand on the handle, but not on the trigger or near it, because I do not want to have a kickback happen where I start the blade while it's in contact with material. That's a big no-no. So you want to make sure that you lower this down, check to make sure you're on the waistline or to the waistline side of your cut line. Yep, that looks good. I position the head as necessary. Again, this is a sliding compound miter saw, so I'm going to slide this forward all the way, turn this on, push down and through. I want the material to be pushed against the fence and on the bed as opposed to kicked up or lifted up, and that can happen. So that's the beauty of this. It provides a little extra safety. Again, I'm going to turn this on, push down, and then through. So let the blade come to a complete stop, lift up, remove my material. So we saw here that the waste material is now been removed. I now have my good material that I'm ready to work with, maybe take it to another saw, but I'm going to do a couple more cuts. So if I wanted to put an angle on this, all right? Let's say we're gonna put 15-degree angle. I'm gonna be able to slide that on here. I'm not measuring this. Again, I have 8 inches of material here, so I'm able to hold this without having any concern. I can bring this down to make sure that I'm gonna get the cut that I want. Ready? Forward, down, through. Blade comes to a stop, lift up, and now I have my angle cut. All right, so I've done a miter straight. Now I've done a miter with an angle. All right, now I want to put a bevel on this. A bevel means that I'm going to change the head angle. So I'm going to change that. And now I have a compound cut because now I've changed the angle and the head with the bevel. So I'm going to put that on here. And I'm going to make that cut now. All right. One thing that you want to make sure, again, making sure that you're accommodating for that is making sure that the fence is going to accommodate that. So making sure you make that adjustment before cutting into the back of the fence is going to be critical. Okay, and now I have a compound angled cut where you can see that I have this cut right here that's on an angle because of the head, and then I have a cut right here, so now I can do some different interesting pieces with regards to how things connect, and I can get some really interesting angles on how materials are coming together. You can see this with a lot of crown molding and other pieces that you'll find around homes, as well as in some really nice furniture. So this is the basics of the compound sliding miter saw. Again, if you have any questions, please make sure that you're asking as you come along. Always reset the saw if you have any questions of going back to 0, so that way someone doesn't come up. But it's always going to be the operator's responsibility to make sure the saw is set up, that everything is zeroed out the way they need it prior to functioning the saw. So that's our compound sliding miter saw. Hopefully, if you have any questions, please make sure you ask. But it's a pretty unique tool that can allow you some really dynamic cutting opportunities when looking to make or fabricate something.